Ready to rip?
Yeah, I'm almost done. big slam dunk except for the purchase.
He's on standby for the CRA board meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Today is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. The time is 6:03 p.m. and this joint meeting of the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency Board and the City of Boynton Beach Commission is now called to order. The CRA January board meeting will start at the conclusion of this joint meeting. Let's proceed to the invocation led by Board Member Turkin and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Cruz, or Board Member Cruz, I should say.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this new year. We ask that you bless everyone in this room, staff, and the residents of Boynton Beach as we endure this next year. Grant everyone hope, happiness, and health. And in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Let's turn to our Deputy City Clerk, Tammy Stanzioni. If you could please do the roll call.
Chair Shelton,
Present.
Vice Chair Hay, Board Member Cruz,
Present.
Board Member Turkin,
Present.
Board Member Kelly.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We are now moving on to additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda. Let's begin to my right with Board Member Cruz. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections? Board Member Kelly
No, thank you, Chair.
and Board Member Turkin.
None, Chair.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Board Chair, I so apologize. Legal does have a request.
Oh, okay.
So we would like to add a request to consider a meeting of the CRA shortly before the meeting of the city at the next meeting to handle a real estate matter. We anticipate the meeting would take no more than 10 minutes.
On the 20th?
Yes, so that's going to, just if we could add that to your agenda for your consideration, we would appreciate it. Yes.
Motion to include that change to the agenda.
Second.
So we have a motion and we have a second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. It's hard getting back in the swing of things after New Year's, isn't it? And Christmas. Let's now begin with informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Let's begin to my left. Board Member Turkin.
None, Chair.
Board Member Kelly.
No, Chair, thank you.
Board Member Cruz.
None for me.
And I have none. Let's move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public comments. The public comment section of the meeting is for the public comment on all items on the agenda or items that are not on the agenda. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment on all items on the agenda. However, the board retains the right to increase or decrease the 3-minute limit prior to the start of public comment. Each public speaker shall be given the same number of minutes unless it becomes necessary to terminate a speaker's comments in order to maintain orderly conduct and properly decorum. Persons making public comment may not assign or donate their public comment time to another individual to allow that other individual time to comment. However, any persons requiring assistance will be accommodated as required by the American with Disabilities Act. Prior to addressing the board, speakers present at the meeting will go to the podium to make comments, and speakers participating virtually will unmute their device at the time. Speakers may be asked to state their name and address for the record. Any person may provide written comments to the board prior to the meeting. So if you have a public comment, now is the time to come down.
Happy New Year. My name is Reverend Cindy Falco Di Corrado. I stand here tonight not for money, not for attention, but because we the people deserve integrity, transparency, accountability from our government. In recent months, I have personally witnessed conduct within the city that has been greatly concerned to me. I will not name individuals tonight. I am speaking only about patterns, practices, and the culture that operates behind closed doors. I have experienced private conversations that should have been handled publicly and on the record, being whispered in my ear instead. I have seen verbal offers made outside of proper procedures, attempts to minimize or silence matters that should have been addressed with honesty, documentation, and transparency. My husband witnessed these interactions as well. I have also observed political relationships and endorsements that, while completely legal, raise legitimate questions about how decisions are made, how cases are handled, and why certain citizens are treated the way they are. When citizens are mistreated, removed without cause, injured, silenced, or pressured outside of official channels, it erodes public trust. When leadership operates in whispers instead of transparency, it undermines the very foundation of good governance. And I want this said clearly, respectfully, and on the public record. I refuse to be intimidated. I refuse to be silenced. I refuse to take hush money, and I refuse to ignore misconduct, no matter how uncomfortable the truth may be. I am pursuing all appropriate legal remedies through the courts, including federal avenues. I will not discuss these cases here, but I want the commission and the public to know that I am standing for truth, for accountability, and for every resident who has ever been mistreated or ignored. My hope tonight is simple. This is that city chooses to operate in the light, that transparency replaces whispers, that honesty replaces avoidance, and that every official here remembers the solemn oath you took to serve we the people. Not political alliances, not personal agendas, not backroom conversations. I pray that God grants each and every one of you the wisdom and the courage and the conviction to do what is right, even when no one is watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. Welcome back. Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. I want to say thank you, board member / Commissioner Amy Kelly, for coming and judging my neighborhood's decorating contest. I really gave them a hard time about how poorly they did for Halloween and really challenged them, and they went all big. Thank you to you and your daughter for coming out 3 nights in a row to go through all the houses and come up with a great set of winners and superlatives. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, I've been hearing complaints, the 500 Ocean building where Guacago used to be, apparently there's no longer free parking for the public, and there's supposed to be. That was one of the conditions of approval for that project. They're now forcing people to download some app or something and register to park in a free parking place. Yes, I know, to the point that Guacago has now left because of it. And I believe you've lost a butcher in the bar because of it. You are losing businesses in the CRA because you are allowing that horrid building that has had problems from day one to continue on with their nonsense, and now they're forcing people to register to park, or they're handing them tickets. And you are now losing patrons, and you are losing businesses that have been there for a few years now, all because of this horrid, awful building that can't get their crap together, whether it's falling elevators, mold, people, employees breaking into people's apartments, whatever. Please take a look at that. I'm also worried that the D3 parking ordinance meeting, no one appears to want to show up. And I know Doug, who runs it, was like, we can't get anyone from the city to show up. What is that? D3 and D2 are your big districts that you supposedly are trying to clean up with parking, and yet you can't get city employees to show up to their own meetings. So please get working on that. And let's see, I think I have enough time to get both in. I would like to highly suggest that the old house that's on Boynton Beach Boulevard and 3rd, you guys might want to look at, I know they don't seem to want to sell, but maybe it's because they're afraid that beautiful building that's 95 years old this year is going to be knocked down and destroyed. Have you guys thought about taking that one and moving that one over next to the Magnuson? If the Andrews House thing is not going to work, my group is on board with going forward with getting that house moved and saved and protected. It is 95 years old this year. That might definitely be worth investigating. Some company out of Lake Worth owns it because I went investigating it on Papa last night. So I would ask that maybe you guys look forward to maybe doing something like that to save another piece of our city's history and moving it downtown. And whoever's laughing, hopefully they agree. And yes, there's movement forward on getting Besançon, France as our next sister city. I had meetings with them today, and we will continue having meetings going forward, but there's movement on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here for public comment? Come on down, sir.
Hi, I'm not sure if this is the right time for me to speak. It's more of a personal thing. I been a homeowner in Boynton Beach since my name is David Ald.
Thank you.
I've been a homeowner in Boynton Beach since 2019, and I recently bought the house right on the corner behind here, 202 Southeast First Avenue. Since I moved in, I put in a new roof, new windows and doors, and did some landscaping. And recently received a letter with several code violations in regards to the landscaping. I basically put and before I did it, I had, looked at other established houses in the area. And, it wasn't anything major. It was a Kalusha bed and some stone put in. Basically, when I moved into the house, the front yard was almost half dirt, half grass, just really not very well maintained. I put in a Kalusha bed in the front and some stone to leave a little berth for traffic because it's a narrow street and trucks and landscapers come down there. I also put some stone up the side. And, I can go through the complaints or whatever. I'm just hoping that, kind of tapped out for money right now. There'd be some kind of waiver or some sort of, I don't know, at very least an extension, because today is the day that everything's supposed to be done. I redid the irrigation to make everything, look good. I've had compliments by neighbors and walkers and city workers since I moved in that the house is the best that it's looked that they can remember. So I'm just pleading for myself that I don't have to put thousands of dollars to remove what I had done. I'm not sure if this is the right venue, but a friend of mine told me it might be helpful to make a plea to all of you. So I'm not sure if this is the right way to go, but just thought I'd come up.
It is. When you are done, can you just wait so we can have somebody get your phone number? I know code probably has it, but we're going to have someone follow up with this tonight and early tomorrow morning so it doesn't continue on.
Okay.
Hey,
The
sir,
gentleman in the blue shirt over there.
Yeah, can you get the phone number for us?
he's in the far back corner, sir.
Yeah, he'll give it to us after.
Okay, should I
Yeah.
still wait?
No, you don't have to wait. If you just want to make sure you give your contact information so that we have it.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the neighborhood, Mr. All. Okay, so the online is still not working, right?
They're getting him logged in now.
We are logged in.
So
is
they
right.
are working on it.
Oh,
right
they're
now.
working on it, okay.
There's nobody on.
Okay, but there's no one anyways. Okay. Moving on, let's go to new business. The first item is the presentation of affordable housing inventory. Mr. Tack, or who wants to, Bonnie, are you on this for this one? Okay,
Yes.
I see you're switching, okay.
Yes, good evening, board. Will there be a presentation? Yep, he's getting it loaded for us now. Great. So this is a follow-up from the November 8th workshop with the CRA and City Commission. There was a request for a report on affordable housing inventory that we have. This presentation is going to provide an overview of the past 5 years for current projects that are under construction and pre-development and completed within the past 5 years. As an overview, we have 677 affordable units ranging from rental apartments to single-family homes, and they range in affordability from 30% of the county's AMI all the way up to 120% AMI. So the PowerPoint slides will just break it down real quickly. So first we'll look at some of the completed projects. We have Ocean Breeze East, that's Centennial Management Corporation, 123 units. 10% are 30% AMI, and 90% units, 60% AMI. And they are all rental at 100 Northeast 7th Avenue. They're currently fully occupied with a wait list. Heart of Boynton, they are completed 137 Northeast 10th Avenue, rental 124, 10% of the units to 30%, whereas 90% of the units are 70% AMI. And again, that's a Centennial project. We have Model Block. That was a combination project between Habitat and the Boynton Beach Faith-Based CDC. These are all for sale units, 16 single-family homes. The Habitat for Humanity homes were 60% AMI, whereas the CDC were on the moderate 2 scale of 100 to 120%. Currently under construction, we have the Cottage District, 41 single-family homes, 41 units, 19 single-family homes, ranging between the 80 to 100% AMI, and the 22 townhomes are on the lower, so they're 60 to 80%. They're all for sale products by Pulte Home. And the Dunes just broke ground as well, South Federal Highway. They are a combination of rental with apartments and townhomes. 15 units of the units will be 100% to 120%, and 119, sorry, I didn't differentiate that on the units, but Affiliated is also doing that project. And pre-development, we have Seacrest Sound, just north of the canal, rental 89. This one's a live local, and to segue back to the Dunes, that was also live local. Seacrest Sound is a 89 units, 100 to 120% AMI, and they're Seacrest Apartments Property Owner, LLC. And lastly, we have the Pierce. They will have 150 units of their 300 units affordability, and then we phase down every 15 years and end with 30% 30 units in perpetuity. So you can see the affordability ranges as the years go by, and that's Affiliated. And that was just a quick overview. And then I'm here for questions, and we also have Amanda Radigan with the city if you have any other questions.
If any of my colleagues have any questions? Okay.
Great, thank you.
Moving on, the next item is Pence Park. Mr. Tack, is that on you? Oh, okay.
Good evening, Board Chair, CRA members, city officials, staff, residents. Thank you for the opportunity to present an update on Pence Park redevelopment project. This project focuses on expanding and modernizing the park to better serve the community. I'll briefly walk you through scope and timeline today. Pence Park is a key neighborhood asset within the CRA district. The proposed improvements modernize the park while expanding the usable footprint. The design prioritizes flexibility, durability, and long-term benefit. Perfect. The park is located at 600 Southeast 4th Street in Boynton Beach. The aerial here shows the existing park boundaries and the surrounding context. The site's location makes it highly visible, accessible, and well-positioned for reinvestment. A major component of this project is the abandonment of the Southeast 3rd Street. We're also utilizing approximately 25 feet of adjacent railroad right-of-way. These changes will allow the park to expand in a way that was not previously possible. The added space improves layout efficiency, safety, and overall usability. Any trees that can be relocated will be within feasible and appropriate. Fencing will be upgraded to current standards. These improvements prepare the site for long-term performance and maintenance. Here's a high level of what's coming. The redesigned park supports a wide range of users. Major components include multi-purpose athletic fields that are designed for soccer, football, or any other athletic sports. Bleachers to accommodate games, practices, and special events. Synthetic turf to improve durability, minimize downtime, reduce irrigation and maintenance needs. Pickleball continues to grow rapidly. 4 dedicated courts will provide safe, clearly defined play areas. Their placement minimizes conflicts with other parks and activities. Both athletic fields and the pickleball courts will be illuminated. You can see around the walking paths that functions throughout day and night, week. The playground, which is under the red tarp, will offer space for children and families to get together. These features, of course, ensure that the park serves all age groups. There'll be new bathrooms, multi-purpose rooms, the new restrooms. Facilities improve comfort, accessibility. Multi-purpose rooms will support community programming, meetings, events. These amenities significantly increase the park's functional capacity. The maintenance building will be on site. The maintenance building will support efficient day-to-day operations. On-site storage improves response times and operational costs. This facility protects the CRA's investment over the long period of time. Where are we today? Construction documents are at about 100%. The first design review was this week, Tuesday of this week, with all functional departments, fire, police, utilities, and so forth. Comments were minimal. Permitting is anticipated to be around, somewhere in February. After permitting, we'll start preparing for the bidding process, public bid. These milestones position the project well for implementation. In closing, this project transforms Pence Park into a modern, flexible community asset. It maximizes limited urban space while supporting recreational events and neighborhood quality. We appreciate the CRA's support and partnership. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can. Thank you.
Questions from my colleagues?
I have one quick question. I know Commissioner Board Member Turkin, I know we had discussions about incorporating a splash pad. Do we know, as part of that children's playground area, have we nixed that? Are we trying to see if that's something that can be part of the children's playground? Are we?
Not part of it.
So for the regular playground under the red tarp, it's going to be just standard playground equipment? Okay.
Can I ask why that was not included when it's been communicated at both the CRA and city level? And that, not just that, but also at the advisory board meetings, to have some designs, and I think verbatim what was said is we'll come back with some stuff and we'll show it to you, which I understand if there's an issue as to why we can't do it. What I don't like is when we get to the final hour and we just see these finalized plans, we've dumped all this money into it, yet the commission had no opportunity to then address, this. So I'm just confused. I know that there's been some time since our last meetings, and so I just want to know the reasoning of why there wasn't input allowed, or is there an engineering reason as to why we can't do this that I'm unaware of? Because I'll speak for myself, when I'm advocating and speaking with my constituents, I'm saying, hey, yes, we've discussed this, we've allow this in a dialogue and I hand the ball to staff, most of the time, the touchdown's scored. I don't look back to see if it's not going to get scored. And so if we need to redraw the play, I'd like to know if we need to do that. So I just don't know where the disconnect was. And again, if there's communication, then I can go and say, hey, here's the why we're not doing this, versus it being brought forward. Then we're going into permitting in February, right? We have one commission meeting, and then to go back, I know is going to cost money for redesign, and then we're expending more resources. So I just want to know where that disconnect was, or if there's an opportunity where we can incorporate that, or if there's a thought or initiative to have that place elsewhere, that would be good to know. Just the communication aspect, because if that's going to be somewhere else, good to know, no big deal. Let's move forward. I just need to know these things, not at the last minute.
Yes, sir. I think part of the problem in this particular project was the plans were developed further along than at the time when that request came from, I think it was a meeting that was held in the community. So it hasn't been reflected in the drawings. It was something we considered. I can tell you that those type of splash pads are very maintenance heavy. And then this type of park, so we're looking to potentially centralize that into an aquatic center. That was one of the things that we were talking about. We still have an opportunity to add it here. It would be a small revision to this that could be done during the permitting. So we're still evaluating that, but we'd like to see that done at a more centralized location at an aquatic park instead of having splash pads throughout the city, because they are very problematic. As you can tell, the one at Barrier Free is down more than it is up. So that was one of the primary reasons why it wasn't done. I do apologize, that wasn't communicated to the dais before this presentation today. That is something we can still accomplish if that is the will of the board here, or the commission.
Yeah, listen, I'm pretty reasonable when it comes to, if something makes sense as to the why. And when we were discussing this, the number one issue I brought up was the maintenance and the recurring cost. What I don't like is that there was a decision made without input. This has nothing to do with the splash pad or the Pence Park project. It has to do that with the fact that there was a final decision made without options being presented, it seems like. If there's a more logical reasoning to put it elsewhere where it's more cost effective, I'm all ears. I think we have the right to have those options presented before us before we open up this dialogue, looking at plans, that are later will be executed.
I don't think it was so much that it was these aren't final drawings. It still can be done. I think it wasn't so much that it was a timing thing, that the drawings and renderings, these renderings were probably completed a while back.
Right.
So we haven't had an opportunity to update those drawings, but the consensus, and we knew this was going to be a topic that came up tonight when you saw these drawings. So it was something that we probably should have got with you individually on to get some input on before the meeting. So I do apologize for that, but we will look at that again. But the consensus before the meeting when we all talked, because I knew this was going to come up, was the rationale was that the maintenance of it, and we're looking to centralize it at more of a park. So the Denson Pool is one of the projects that we're looking at that in the within the next 5 years, we're going to need a major renovation at that park. And we are looking to do more of an aquatic center at that park, which we could include those kind of features for kids to play. It's kind of similar to what they've done at John Prince Park. If you've seen what the county's done at that park, where they have a wonderful facility there where the kids absolutely enjoy themselves. That was kind of what we were thinking, that was the direction we were going to go. I do apologize that we didn't get at least some input from the dais before this meeting, but we'll make sure that's rectified.
Yeah, I think, this has gone through so many levels of, feedback between constituency, the CRA board, this body, on both sides of the city and the CRA. And, we talk about the Denson Pool, that's 5 years out, which probably won't get done for 7 to 10 years.
Correct.
So what that looks like to me is the same thing we've seen in the past is can kick down the road, which I don't want to see happen. I think there's an opportunity where, let's go back, see what this looks like to include both.
Can you pull the site plan up?
And if not, then are we creating a realistic plan, where we can establish something in a neighboring park. I know one proposed idea was right over here. You know, personally, I think that's a little bit too close to the road. Yeah, you know, but I just, you know, what I'm asking for is just communication, simple, you know. Everyone's been off for a month, so to say we didn't have time is an obsolete excuse, I think. And being the district commissioner and giving my word to someone and then seeing this, you know, it's not the best look. And I just wish that I would be more involved in this process before it became public. And, you know, maybe we do, I sent an email earlier this week about having a community meeting in lieu of what was discussed earlier in public comment about Pence Park, or maybe it was Seacrest, one of the two projects that affected the district. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity for that, so we can get some feedback for the residents, apply both before we move forward, and then make a decision, you know, and just not do it hastily, because I just.
We're scheduled, I think Tom is scheduled and Kevin are going to be at the 21st meeting to present these plans and do this presentation at
Yeah.
Forest Park. So that I would love to see feedback on, and I'll let Carl speak too. I know that it's something they may have talked about, placing one here. There may be, you can speak, Carl, on this, is whether there will have to be features removed in order to add a splash pad at this park,
And
if
I'm
that was
fine
the will of
with
the
that.
commission.
And the and also too, what is the cost, right? I think it's easier to have this conversation with your constituency, with the residents, when we highlight, hey, here's what we want to do. You know, if we did a splash pad, here's how much it would cost. Here's the pros and cons. You know what I mean? And then that way we kind of weigh out and incorporate. This is a big project, right? And it's just an awesome project. And Andrew, I know you've been working on this for years. Thank you guys so much for all the work you've put into it. I just want to make sure we get this right and that we're honoring our word when we say, you know, hey, we have an opportunity to include, you know, this concept into the district. And I want to make sure we do and take the steps needed to at least hear and make an effort, you know, to at least execute that initiative. And again, if we can't do it, we can't do it. That's fine, you know, but we need to explain the why.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the 21st, we can have that information available and have a very robust discussion at the Forest Park meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and Commissioner, I mean, I agree, and I think that's, you know, it really just comes down to communication. But, I mean, even if it's something as simple as a water feature that is not necessarily a full-on splash pad with dumping buckets and all this stuff that is so costly to maintain, and I mean, we see it at Barrier Free, we know. But, you know, even a light-up water feature like downtown West Palm did, 25 years ago, just giving kids an opportunity to run through some water when it's 105 degrees outside is not going to necessarily take up a lot of space. It's not something that's necessarily going to be in the playground area where you have to worry about wetness, but at the same time, it gives, you know, that opportunity to have a water feature, which is you know, part of our kind of, you know, incorporating art and a feature, but also, you know, killing two birds with one stone. So that might be an opportunity where it's not going to require that much maintenance, and it's not going to require that much space, but it's going to provide an opportunity for what, you know, Commissioner Turkin's residents, you know, have been, you know, wanting and look. I mean, we had this whole presentation done by the Crab Board on what the residents of, you know, the CRA district want to see, and so it is, you know, I'm not going to, you know, repeat everything that was said, but I think that, you know, there probably are some opportunities where we can do something, maybe not on a grand scale, but that meets the needs of the residents, but is not going to be, you know, we're not going to kill ourselves in maintenance either. So I would like to, before it moves, you know, any further, to really see what those options are and how it would work and what the cost would be to make changes so that we can decide, you know, is it fiscally responsible for us to make these changes after we spent all this money making this plan before splash pads became a thing and before we started talking and going down that road. So that's my
Carl, you have?
Yeah, I just had one other thing I'd like to add. Good evening, everybody. My name is Carl Fermenti. I'm the Director of Construction Services. So one of the challenges we face with this site, as you can see, it's relatively small for the amount of activities and user groups that we have defined for this space. So that was one of the, decisions that we had to make. We actually stripped some amenities out of this park through the original design process. We had some basketball courts and stuff in there. So, what our thinking was there is when people go to parks, they don't want to be confined. They want to enjoy open spaces and all of that. And, with having a splash pad in such close proximity to some other features, it'll be a little bit challenging, but we'll take a look at that and give it considerations. The other things that we took into account when we made these types of decisions with the site was simply, the additional parking that would be required because you're inviting a whole nother user group to this park. And primarily, most of the activities that we've seen at this park in the past have been, it's very heavy soccer, so that takes up a majority of the footprint. And then obviously with the downtown development and multi-use development that's going on, it will attract, family types with young children. So that was the reason that we definitely needed a park feature. Now, having a park feature with a water component adjacent in such close proximity to those other things will be challenging, but certainly something we consider. And to also echo some of the thoughts, I mean, we have some underutilized parks that already have a very good amount of parking and may lend themselves better to this type of activity in a more expansive type of aquatic center or park. And just to echo those locations, obviously, we were talking about the Denson Pool, which is the Carolyn Sims Center, and then the other one would be Barrier Free Park. There's still a lot of unused space at those two parks, and I think that we'll get a more diverse user group and be able to accommodate more of a family type of group. Whereas in this downtown area, what we think we see right now is really that's more of younger families or families that are just starting. So those children, they may not have children, or they may just have, very small children that aren't even old enough yet to maybe even use those type of features in that park. So those are just some of the considerations, that we went through the design process. And unfortunately, I wasn't involved in the prior meeting, so I wasn't aware of the request of the water feature, but certainly that's something that we would consider before we, make any kind of final decision on, this park. It's very important. It's in, we have, we're doing some road work. We're redoing that road there. So whatever we do there, we want to make the right move and make it the right fit for that area. So we certainly appreciate that feedback, and we'll make those considerations as we work through the remaining process of this project.
The other thing I think Commissioner Kelly made a great point is, when you think splash pad, I'm thinking something that you might have to have lifeguard there and all that. So that it may be more of a terminology problem than it was, because I think something like you're talking about where the water shoots up out of the ground where the kids can run through is probably a much doable thing here versus a splash pad. That's why I meant splash pad would be better appropriate for like a Denson Pool or aquatic center. So that's kind of why that conversation went that way. Yeah. So an alternate, we can look at something that is different where it's more of a water feature instead of a splash pad.
Thank you. I do want to make a few points, and thank you for the presentation. Few questions. I mean, if we get into the frame of thought that we're going dense, we have multiple buildings that are being constructed at the time. We have 500 Ocean pretty much very nearby. We have a lot of density coming up in the future. And as we're thinking of parks and building something immediately, we should also think about not just the parking per se, which is a valid point, but also the fact that there are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of new people coming into that area within a walking distance. I have a question with regard to the building. Can somebody talk about the rationale behind creating the multi-use room, and what's the square footage on that?
Off the top, I do not know the exact square footage of the building, but the intended use for those would be for Parks and Recs meetings, any type of clubs that could be affiliated with the park, perhaps even utilizing it for parties for children and so forth. So that's the intent of some of those, and that could possibly be a source of revenue as well for the city to use that space as a rental type space for birthday parties and so forth.
Vending machines.
Any way to know the size? Is it 1,000 square feet? Is
It's
it
somewhere around 1,000, 1,500 square.
1,000? Okay. I'm not a planner or anything, but, you know, I think we should keep parks parks. I think we're doing a lot of closed door space. We've got restrooms are reasonable storage. We have an office there. This multi-purpose room could and Commissioner Kelly talked about West Palm Beach and downtown West Palm, how they have not necessarily a splash pad, but they have the area where the kids can, you know, go in and have the water. I don't see why we couldn't get rid of the multi-purpose room and have something within those 1,000 square feet that could potentially be more beneficial to the community. The people have been asking for the splash pad, and I support the district commissioner in fighting for that. People have been asking for this for years and years and years, and this is an opportunity. We're spending, I think, $4.4 million in this park. You know, why can't we put something water-related for the kids there? I don't see a necessity for a multi-purpose room in a park necessarily. We have City Hall not that far away, and we have a lot of spaces in City Hall, a lot of empty space on the first floor. At least last time I checked, a lot of empty space where we could potentially have meetings or, you know, where people with the clubs could meet up. I don't know if that's the best place for it in a park. We're gonna have so much limited space with parks going forward. There's not enough land to do it and a lot of construction coming up. So I think we should prioritize as much open space as we could. And I think we do have an opportunity to put something, whether it's a splash pad or whether it's the concrete where the water comes out of the ground, that we don't necessarily need a lifeguard for that. They don't have one in, say, West Palm Beach. But it's something that it really becomes a community hub and really brings the downtown together. And, you know, I think that we could do something, you know, with that train of thought. Thank you.
So I'd like to propose, if it's okay with my colleagues, maybe come back with a couple of concepts, and maybe we'll do this meeting at Forest Park, get some feedback with those concepts, and then bring it back before us. Because the talking point about the multi-purpose room, I could see both sides of it. I could see why you would want that. To me, I think it'll be great for a month or two, and then you're gonna have
gonna
undesirable
manage
activity
it?
there.
Yeah, who's
right?
gonna manage
And
it?
then that's gonna be maintenance, right? Who's gonna
That's
manage
what I
it?
worry
mean,
about with the fountain.
Security, and you have to have somebody there manning it, yeah.
I think, you know, to the idea of like the water feature, right? I think that suffices, right? I would imagine that would suffice. That's split in the middle. You know, maybe it's less on maintenance. I mean, hell, I would jump in the coin pool. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I didn't care.
Fountain,
The
yeah.
fountain, right? Like, and, you know, that was something I remember as a kid. You know, I don't think it needs to be this grandiose water park, right? But I think having some form of water feature is important, and I think it would be a home run. And I think if we're worried about maintenance, then regardless of the water feature, then we should look at this project in its entirety about the multi-purpose room. I can understand the why, you know, it sounds good in theory. I just know, like, perfect example today, went to Harvey Oyer Park, new tackle shop, they're like, hey, can someone get the trash cans? It's been 3 days. You know what I mean? It's full when I got back. You know, the one closer to the boat ramp. So it's like, we're just adding more maintenance. And so, you know, listen, again, I'm not, you know, frustrated with the water feature there, not there, indifferent. I'm frustrated that it wasn't kind of brought in the proper process, I believe, or at least there was no communication. If I got a phone call and someone said, hey, you know, here's the why, right? I could understand that, and then maybe I could ask that we propose, so on and so forth. So that's my proposition. I don't know if you need a motion, city attorney, or if consensus suffices.
Fine. I think we have enough direction. Do you think that you'll have enough time to have a couple options by the 21st, or is that something that you won't have available?
I can give you an answer in the morning. Let me just
Okay.
meet with some of my associates to see how quickly we can get this online and back, to give it a second look.
We may not have drawings, but you may be able to at least communicate where and what at the meeting. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so, and I do think that, your idea of, riffing the building does free up money. It saves us money in the construction
of
too.
money, yeah.
When I
So-
noticed like there's no like outdoor seating, like picnic tables and an area for that where if you're talking about bringing families into an area, if I'm going to, when I had little kids, I went to a playground, I wanted a place for them to sit and have a snack and drink. And so maybe if we scrubbed the building, put out an outdoor seating area and a water feature, it might.
Do we
kill
have,
two
there is an
birds.
outdoor seating here, is there?
There is
It's
some
like a-
seating, but it's
It's covered,
primarily
isn't it?
adjacent to the field, and it is covered.
Okay.
Last thought, sorry, or you want to go?
No, I was just going to say thank you guys for all your hard work on this. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
This currently is not the most desirable place. It's not utilized to its
No.
best potential, for sure. Unfortunately, there's
needed,
been a lot of
yeah.
undesirable activity, adjacent to the park. So thank you guys for all your hard work on this.
Since we're on the subject of the park, the properties that are on the north side that have the sticker on them that are wood frame and condemned, is there anything movement of those being torn down, or would they still remain when we put this beautiful park in? Because I get calls every weekend about loitering behind those two properties, a lot of bad activity going on, and I keep seeing we're talking about putting 4 million in, but are we getting rid of the garbage houses across the street?
Those are in the
No one lives
process.
in 'em.
Those are in the process, yes.
Okay.
I spoke with Adam. He's not here tonight, but we're very well aware and they're in the process, so.
Okay.
My last thought was just, we don't have an abundance of land for parks. Let's try to keep parks as much as we can, open space. And we have plenty of buildings. We have a $100 million new city hall where we could have space for, and/or multi-purpose rooms on the first floor. There's just a lot of opportunity. We have limited space for parks, and it would be great to really keep that in mind as we're building future parks.
Great. Okay, so we do have we're good with the consensus to move that, and we can move on to the item you wanted to add, 8C, which is
Yes, thank you.
adding an item to the next
Thank you,
meeting.
guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Board Chair. In the CRA meeting, there'll be a real estate item coming before you. We have received an executed contract for that property. To the extent that the board at the CRA meeting votes to approve that contract, it's not in your agenda, it's not before you, you're not able to approve it tonight. However, to expedite proceedings, if the board desired and with the city's consent, then you all could.
Yeah.
Do you want me to continue, or do you want to wait?
What did we skip?
The budget.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing the real
Should've been
estate
D, yeah.
before the budget,
Skip
yeah.
C, yeah, that was supposed to be D, my mistake.
That's fine. Do you want me to continue, or do you want me to wait?
Want to just switch it?
I think it's both, because we'd have to move the time of the city commission until after the CRA meeting, but we don't expect the CRA meeting would take long. If it's approved tonight, we would just
Yeah, it should've
convene
been
them for
8D.
voting purposes. Okay,
8C.
so I'll suspend this discussion until
Yep,
you
we'll just- okay.
re-cue me.
So let's go to 8C. Who wants to do this?
The
presentation?
computers are down up here, too.
Yeah, we don't have
For the
anything on our
slideshow,
screen.
and looks like,
This is Tim. Come on up,
Yeah, I don't have
Tim.
anything.
I kind of like this side of the dais. This is nice. We just brought this item back before y'all to identify priority projects, as well as start your discussion in regards to preparing a budget for the next fiscal year. And in combination with the city, thought this would be a good time to do so. So this is an open discussion for you all, and however you want to proceed, it's up to y'all.
I mean, so this is in anticipation of our upcoming budget cycle and what we have coming in and going out? And
That is
where our
correct.
priorities are.
Yeah, that is correct. If there's any projects that you think that are going to be priority projects for this next fiscal year, it would be the time to start that introduction, or at least start talking about that, or anything that you feel that we should be focusing our budget more on. Particularly if you think land acquisition, if there's ways that we can get a little bit more of an insight. But again, this is just preliminary discussion.
I definitely think it's land acquisition. However, I'm still going to say I'm the new kid on the block because I haven't hit a year yet, but is this something that would be better suited in a workshop to go in detail about it? Or, I mean, I know I'm adamant about land acquisition, obviously. I know we need to discuss the events, the budget there, and where we are with that, but I'm deferring to my colleagues on anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think our priorities are, I mean, I think our priorities are always property acquisition. I think, I mean, I feel like I've talked ad nauseum about federal highway, and acquiring, whatever we can on federal highway to start making improvements there too. But I think, you know, I think where our budget is now and our priorities are, you know, I think they're pretty stable. I mean, in looking at it, I don't think that there's anything that that me personally, except to continue to prioritize acquisition and also to really start moving the properties that we have. Because as much as we have our annual TURVA that comes in, we also are sitting on properties that we can move that will improve and enhance our district and the city as a whole, and we're just sitting on them. And I think that right now, and we're moving them, we're starting to move them, but I think that, you know, really looking closely at, you know, the post office and what we're, you know, and part of that, I know part of this discussion was also going to be like pushing through some of our priorities as far as what the CRA plan is going to look like and where our priorities are going to be with that. And I think I think having that discussion, I think kind of kills two birds with one stone, where our priorities as far as the CRA plan and rewriting the plan, where our budget priorities are. But I mean, I agree. I think property acquisition is always a high priority because we can't get people to improve for us. We have to do the work. So that's kind of my thought. I think that as far as, you know, where our budget sits for this year, I think we've moved things around through the last year as far as what our priorities have been. And so I think we're on the right track to keeping them going. I would like to see us consider, you know, how, I know we'll get a circuit update soon, but to start having that discussion on how that's working, how we can improve that, how we change that, since we're here in two different hats, how the city can get involved with increasing that out to the tri-rail. I think those are some of the priorities, I think, coming up that, you know, if that means that we need to invest a little bit more on our end for the rideshare program, I want to see where that is and how successful that is and what the city can do to push that forward. And if that means that we expand a little bit further west to hit our art area, because we do have our arts district, and also the tri-rail. So those are my thoughts on the budget and moving forward.
I think we know where we're going. I think it's just a matter of how, and I think that how is going to be discussed at our next meeting in regards to hopefully a bond, right? I think we've also discussed, you know, the Marina Overlay District, right? So I think putting in those tools and mechanisms that'll help shape the future and then actually making it come to fruition. I think we've been very clear on our vision, you know, for the last year, to us focusing more on commercial versus high-density residential and multifamily. I think we've done a lot. And, you know, the county's doing a lot, right? So I think it's Boynton Beach's turn to decide what we want to see in our city. And I think first and foremost, that comes from property acquisition and having leverage and, you know, land power. And I think that's what we're doing. And, you know, I hope we have a productive conversation when it comes to this bond, because I think that's really going to be our opportunity to make transformational change, you know, specifically to the east side and that federal corridor. Because I think, you know, a lot of people are excited, you know, about what's coming downtown. And, you know, it just takes so long. Everything takes so long. But I think when we have you know, the property rights and, you know, we have more leverage, you know, we can kind of guide the private sector to where our residents and our vision sees fit. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Well, and
You gotta
focus on
text Commissioner
commercial
Hayes
as
on.
opposed
Yes.
to,
Commissioner Hayes now on the attendance.
oh, okay.
Okay. Are there any other discussion items before?
Just to add to the circuit, we may also want to look at whether we're expanding or contracting outside this area boundary as well. So there may be those discussions, because certainly connecting to Palm Tran or something like that may make a lot of sense moving forward, or maybe not. So those are also discussions that we could have as a part of that.
Perfect.
Okay, so we will further that discussion at a later time, and we will continue to now move on to 8D.
Simply because it would require attention of city council and the CRA to allow the CRA to hold a brief meeting at the beginning of the next city council meeting to finalize a contract, if you all choose to take that route tonight, because it would require an adjustment of the city council time and would require you all as a CRA to approve that. We wanted to put that on your radar. You all can vote at the meeting on the CRA at the next meeting, but while we have you here as city council members, also, I don't know if you're a city attorney, and I apologize because this just came up shortly before we came in here. If you'd like to make that allowance to push that city council meeting back by 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm okay with
Do you need a
that.
motion or consensus works?
No, I think we can just add it to the agenda.
15
Perfect.
minutes. Yeah.
Anyway, we could do it at 6 and just make it
That's
short.
what we're-
Yeah, we'll just start.
Yeah,
then.
6
Start at
is fine.
6.
Yeah,
I
we're
thought
just saying
pushing
like
back was
tonight.
5:45, because I'm coming from West Palm.
Yeah, we'll make it
6 o'clock and.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so we don't need a vote on that?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, we're done with that. Anything else before we wrap this meeting up? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So a second?
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We would take a minute break while we set up for the CRA morning, meeting.
A minute. 1 minute break.
About a 5-minute break. Tammy, do you need more time?
We'll be right back.
5 minutes is fine.